Thank you so much for joining me, Morning Coffee with Ivan Sutton. And I welcome my guest, Cass. Thank you for joining us here in Hamilton. Fantastic. And so today, a couple of things I want to go through before we jump into today's topic is just the announcements for the week. So but there's a couple of things I wanted to point out. Online training videos, every week, every other Thursday, I do the online training. Well, I've started to add those training videos to the back end, right? So when you log in, do you see them, Lisa? I see you nodding. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, when you log in, you'll see in the menu videos, and then just scroll down to dashboard videos or dashboard training, and those videos are there. I'm adding them more and more, but right now there's the standard setup, and of course how to add a video and how to add a blog post is in there as well. I think there's 4 videos up there right now, so please go and check those out. I will still have a once monthly presentation on dashboard training, and that's for those who want to just have something special that you want to ask about. So that's going to be that. All right. And then of course the second announcement is please check out the marketplace that we have, because there's so much going on over there, and especially if you want to take part in some of the events that we have coming up. I've switched over registration for some of these things to that platform, and because it works really nicely. And also the events that we have, I'm actually putting the videos and photos for those events, past events, on the .ca as well. All right. So, and also really exciting, our axe throwing, right? Because you know that nothing better than putting alcohol and axes together. But that's tonight, and we have 2 teams, right, Teresa?
Yes, we do. And for anybody who is coming, make sure you wear closed toe shoes, no sandals.
That's gonna be a problem. I don't own any closed toe shoes.
I'd wear boots. They don't want you to
chop your toe off. Just bring something for you to wear while you're throwing.
Yes, that's right. All right, so that's tonight. Tonight, of course, 5 o'clock, we're meeting down there at 80 James Street North, and that is going to be for axe throwing. And by the way, John, it is worth the drive to Hamilton for axe throwing. I'm just throwing that out there.
When is this again?
That's tonight at 5 o'clock.
Okay, I just got home from Hamilton. That's why I was up there.
Yeah, awesome. So today we're talking about overcoming inertia, and right after our presentation today, we have Lisa Bishotti, of course, with the discussion lounge for members, and then tonight axe throwing, which is lots of fun. Then Wednesday we have our first virtual networking event for St. Catherine's. All right, so that's exciting. Maggie Stice is having that event for our newest chapter, which is exciting. It's worth the drive to St. Catherine's. Then on Thursday morning, 9:30, we have Tech Talk with Catherine Davies. And then finally at 12:30 p.m. till 1:30, we have the Women's Business Club, right, Teresa?
Yes, we do. And we're talking about the book. So, get over your damn self. That's what we're talking about this Thursday.
That's the name of the book.
So make sure you read the first chapter at least. We won't go past if you haven't read it.
Get over your damn self. That's the name of the book. Okay.
Ivan.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't get on the calendar in time, but we're also doing in-person happy hour networking in Kitchener on Thursday evening.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Wonderful. actually, can you do me a favor? Did you put that into the calendar yet?
It's on the calendar now.
It's on the
yes.
calendar now. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you very much. And again, oh, and Jackie is here. So what's really exciting is that, as you can see from our topic today, I'm going to rely heavily on our coaches. So here we go. Overcoming inertia. Here it is. All right. So I'm just going to read a little bit of what I've got before we open it up. But to overcome inertia, you'll need to apply force. This is from Barbara McNally from blog.com. In this case, the force is the decision to act and moving from thinking to doing. Overcoming inertia is simple, but it's not easy. It will be work. All right. So sometimes as we progress in business, we're so busy for so long, keeping our heads down that, in order to get things done and to get caught up, when we finally take a breather, we're exhausted, sometimes emotionless, lacking motivation. And sometimes while we work hard to get caught up, even though these tasks were completed, finally, the overall business has slid backwards. And this realization can be paralyzing, wondering if you have the knowledge or motivation to move forward to build new momentum. All right. So, and I know that this Tuesday, do we have the mindset and momentum, Jennifer?
Yes, we're going to do a Q&A. So any questions you have, anything you want to tackle, I'm going to do some impromptu coaching.
Wonderful. Okay, so please do not miss Tuesday because it will be tied into exactly what we're chatting about today. Okay, so I am not a coach, but I do want the discussion. I want to start the discussion on how to overcome inertia. So first, let's look at the word inertia and what it means. All right. Does anybody know what the word inertia means? What does inertia mean? Okay, Chris.
The resistance to movement.
Yes. Yeah. We all sometimes get in that spot, don't we? The resistance to movement, right? And we all know at least one person who also has a resistance to movement as well, right? So, oops, sorry, let me just let Ron in. Okay, so. So then there's the fear on top of it, okay? Fear of exerting yourself. Believe it or not, people have fear when they're in that stuck spot to exert themselves. Ideas come to mind, but your poor mind is too exhausted, disillusioned, or frustrated to start a new plan. So have you ever felt like this or know somebody who has? Anybody ever feel stuck or frustrated with your business? All right. And how do you
write an article?
You can write, yeah. Can't we? Right. Sometimes, and the funny thing is because they pipe all of these distractions into our home, right? Into our devices. You end up watching 4 seasons of the Ozark and and you don't get your work done, right? So I'm going to throw out, before we open it up for general discussion, I'm going to throw out my 5 tips for overcoming inertia. Just 5, not 10 or anything else. So here it is. First, make a decision that for things to change, things have to change. That's the first one. Second, change your scenery for days. Change your scenery. Let your mind think about new things, right? Reach out to every customer that you have and ask them what value they get from your service. And realize that you do not know it all. Okay, so reach out to a mentor, read a book, on small business success, or reach out to a coach. All right, and then last of all, put a plan together. All right. So, anybody's thoughts on this? Oh, Jackie's smiling. Jackie, I know you. Come on, bust in there, girl. Go ahead.
Those are good tips. They're all good tips. My big thing with this is really it comes down to making a decision, right? As to what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And sometimes we get stuck in this place of indecision and sit there for too long when really just decide on one thing that you are going to do and commit to that. And then it's literally what's the one small thing that I can do to get going. right? So if there's been one thing that I've learned, it's that, and I'm prone to it too. I get all up in my head about all of these ideas and I end up going lateral with a whole bunch of different ideas. So sometimes it's just easier to decide on one thing you're going to focus on right now and work that.
Yeah, and sometimes though, but I find it's almost like skipping stones, right? Like you're kind of down and bummed and everything else, and you have an idea to do something and you start, but then you're still bummed, and so you crash back down, and then you think, oh, another idea, and then go ahead.
Well, it's finding the one thing that you can be successful at, right? Because what's happened is when we're in that space, we've gotten ourselves into what's called a failure loop. And so what's running through your head neurologically is that you're going to fail. And the longer we sit in that, the stronger it becomes. So it's flipping it over to find one thing that you can be successful at, even if it's tiny. And some days for me, it's just getting the dishes done, right? That one thing that I can do that I can go, check, I got something done. Now let's move to the next thing. What's one small thing I can do next?
So what you're saying is
a success loop, and you build on small successes.
So what you're saying is it doesn't necessarily have to be a success in a business thing. It could be a success in just getting your room clean, right?
Because then that builds your momentum of feeling successful and feeling good about yourself. And once you can recognize the little wins, now you're ready to take on something bigger.
All right. Anybody's thoughts on that? Anybody, by the way, right now, kind of feeling a little unmotivated today?
Mid-year.
I feel like a televangelist. Anybody right now feeling a little discouraged? No.
There's some crazy energies going on out there. And for anyone who follows, it's the summer solstice tomorrow. It is the perfect time today to sit down and actually write out what you want to plant and bring into fruition for the rest of the year. Right.
Okay. So let me ask you, Jackie, and Jennifer. So is there a timeline, like a map, like to that you set up, like a time, like a strategy layout that people can use to not only get themselves out of a rut, but sometimes we don't realize that we are in a rut. Sometimes we're so busy doing the circle, we're doing everything, and we're not growing our business at all, but we're just kind of in a loop and unmotivated, but just doing it. Is there a strategy for that, to get out of that? I'm gonna ask Jennifer. Jennifer, you stuck?
Put me on the spot. The strategy is basically what Jackie was talking about. Is it starts with a choice. Like you have to decide to do something, right? Like you recognize that you've lost momentum, or you're struggling, or something doesn't feel good inside of your business. So you recognize that. Well, then you have to make a choice to change it. So what is the one thing you can do to change that feeling, or to change that, what you're like, that struggle, or right? Like for me, a lot of times I do one thing in my business. I will do one thing in my business. I'll go clear out my inbox, or I will go clear out, a list of people I've been, putting off connecting on. And I know we all relate to this. That thing that you've been avoiding doing, when you finally do it, it took you 5 minutes, but you've been putting it off for 3 months. Hi, welcome to the club. We're getting jackets. Because that's reality, right? Like we all struggle with those things, but when you do it, you get such like oh my gosh, like I did the thing. But you have to decide to do the thing. That's where it starts. It always starts with a decision.
I'm so excited that you said that. I'm going to now call in our sponsor. So Dizan Social Media is a sponsor of this great Morning Coffee, and Jonathan here, I'd like to get some insight, because when you started your business, you must have had times where things were a little tough and you'd feel a little stuck. So how would you get out of things if you found that over the next 6 months you were stuck? I actually can't see that, Lisa, but if you were, what would you do?
I suffer a lot from imposter syndrome, which I'm sure a lot of us have heard already, because I don't come from a business background. I'm a university dropout, university kicked out. So coming from where I come from, like honest roots up in Northern Ontario to be doing what I'm doing now. You know, relatively successful. I do suffer from imposter syndrome. So I feel when that sets in is when I stop pushing my business forward, because I'm more like, oh, I should be happy with what I have. So for me, when I get stuck in there, I have a couple people I can reach out to just to have a chat, and they kind of shake me out of it. I have a good support system for that. But I talk to my mentors more than anything. I have a couple mentors in London who have been my mentors for like 7 years, and I just chat with them. They kind of reassure me that, you know, where I'm at in my age, they weren't even close to as big as I am now. So I think having mentors is the biggest thing. I don't really worry too much about, you know, I'm stuck, so I'm going to go out and push business, because I don't really need to push too hard. It's more me emotionally and mentally overcoming a barrier. And that's what my support system's for. So
can I pull out some of the, because you shared some stuff with me recently about that meeting that you had, and one of the things I got out of our discussion was what it's like to be around positive people.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Positive, focused people, right? When you feel stuck, can you share a little bit on that?
Yeah, so I have a couple, like I said, Chris and Peter are their names. They're down in London, and they gave me my start. So I worked for them at one of the businesses as an administrator, and then a service manager, and then they ended up, you know, investing in me to get all of my education and my certificates to be social media, SEO, everything. So being around them is great, because they've seen where I came from. You know, they've seen me when I was a part-time employee. So whenever I see them, I love it, because they kind of boost my ego. And the one guy was like, John, listen, man, I haven't talked to you in a while, but you're killing it, buddy. You're doing great, man. Oh, you're doing awesome. You know, so having someone there to kind of pump up my ego is great. But yeah, having people around who are successful too, right? Like I have in my past, I'm sure a lot of us have, I've kind of like cut off people who are constantly dragging you down emotionally, or like, why are you doing this, man? Just get a job in a factory, and put your head down and retire in 20 years. Right. No, you're crazy to do this, man. Or people that make you feel guilty for working instead of, you know, going to every single party they have. So yeah, cutting out negative people, it's just as important as surrounding yourself with positive people, I think.
Right, absolutely. Okay, Jackie, I'm gonna go to you, because I just love how animated you are.
I just finished a 2-week course, so I'm riding the momentum of all.
Okay, right.
I 100% agree. I mean, there's the saying, you're the equivalent of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with. And it's so true. And it doesn't mean that you need to completely cut out people, but it does mean you've got to have really strong boundaries around those people, because sometimes those toxic people are your family, and you know, you don't necessarily want to give them the boot completely. And it's about, how do you create space for yourself and protect yourself so that that negativity isn't penetrating you.
Right, because you know, doing a business is hard, right? It's tough work. You have to get up every morning. You get to find the motivation to do it. And for those that work from home, you don't have to do anything. You know, you could just sit there today and do nothing, right? If you want to. So finding the motivation to get out there and do that, it's amazing, right? So, and even, you know, when you call somebody, like if I call Jackie, or I talk to Jonathan, or, you know, or anybody, Lisa especially, well, Lisa, forget it, I'm wired for weeks. But the point is that having that conversation is very motivating. And you know, sometimes in the back of your head, I think, I'm not a coach, but I think your subconscious is solving problems. But sometimes you talk to somebody and they say something completely unrelated, and it solves that thing for you. And you just go, ha ha, right? So for those that don't make those connections and then leverage those connections in those times when they feel a little stuck, I think you do yourself a disservice. Any thoughts on that? Oh yeah, go ahead, John.
Sorry, it wasn't really a thought on what you asked there, just before I forget. I also find it's really important, for me at least, to have people to talk to who are in my industry. Like me sitting down and talking to you, Ivan, we speak the same language. We know the same struggles. We've done the same things. It's great. I have a colleague in St. Catherine named Purple Bean Media is her company name. And we chat quarterly, but hey, how is business for you? Have you been getting a lot of leads? Have you been finding so? And hearing other people going through the same things as you, it makes you feel comfortable that, okay, I'm on the right path. So I do feel like having people in your circle who speak the same language as you is also important for me, at least.
Can I share something on top of that then, John, is that sometimes I'll speak to, I'll have a conversation with Sheila or anybody else, right, that's a member, and they'll tell me, you know, what it is that they're specifically looking for, et cetera. And then I find that without really thinking about it, I really kind of push them, you know, and tell everybody, hey, if you haven't talked to Sheila, call her up right now and set up an appointment or whatever it is, right? You have no idea what a conversation with somebody else is going to do to them, because it's not like you're asking them, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you give me some leads? Sometimes just we empathize. We want you to be successful. So therefore, you're going to find that people will help you. So it's important that you connect with people often, like and in an authentic way, right? Authentically connect with people.
100%, I agree.
Yeah. So the last. Sorry, go ahead. Someone had something there. Okay, I'm just going to read. I spoke to a family friend about his job. He goes to work every day, Monday to Friday, and I asked, what does this job mean to you? And his answer was simple. He said, it's a job. You know, it allows me to live a happy and comfortable life, spending time with my family and friends, and it gives me a sense of purpose. That's his job, right? Very simple, not sexy, right? For me, you know, it's not sexy, but it's what makes him happy. So the question is, when you find that you are stuck, what would overcoming inertia in your business mean to you?
It can be the difference between a $10 day or a $10,000 day.
Yeah.
Like that's what it boils down to. It's the difference between feeling like a success and feeling like a failure, and actually building momentum, right? Like that's really where it boils down.
And isn't it cumulative, right? For those of us that do sales, you know, Dave, like outbound calling sales, whatever, you know, it's cumulative, right? Because if you start making calls today, let's say that today you decide I'm going to make 30 calls. And you make your 30 calls. If you make 30 more calls tomorrow, then in those 30 calls, you have, you know, 20 people who say no or don't answer. You may have 2 people that book an appointment with you, and you know, but then tomorrow you have another 10 people to follow up with, right? And then another 10 people, and eventually at the end of the week you got 50 people at various stages of discussion, right? So it's cumulative. Eventually you stop making calls, like you have so many people that you're working with that, you know, but if you never take that first step, then you never get there. Any thoughts on that from our salespeople?
I was actually going to say, you know, to change inertia, like try something different. If you try making those 100 calls today, all cold calls, maybe tomorrow you can try something different to get a different ball rolling, or just like you said, maybe follow up with your warm leads the next day. So try completely cold calling today, try warm leads tomorrow, just always trying something different, because like that whole saying, like you keep doing the same thing, expecting the same results, you're not going to get it. You're completely insane. So try something different, move forward, and keep that momentum going. Doesn't mean it has to be with the same thing, but change it up a bit.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm going to bounce off that and say yes. And if you're doing that, 100% make sure that you're tracking what you're doing, because I know in my experience, there's a lot of times I get stuck in my emotions and I think nothing is happening because, you know, I've had an off day or two, when really I go back and look at my numbers and go, oh, wait, no, things are happening. I just have gotten up in my own head. And in my industry, we say your emotions are not evidence for anything. So sometimes and I am working on this, so I put my hands up to not being a tracker. And I need to, because I do have this tendency to get all emotional about it. And so having something concrete that you can actually go to someone else and go, okay, look at this with me and let's see where I actually am at.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that too, that emotions are not evidence of anything. I love it. Go ahead, Michael.
So first of all, most important thing, just do it. Calling is money.
It
If
is.
you don't like money, don't call.
That's right.
Seriously, if you don't like money, don't call. That's the best way to making sure you don't get any money. And then you don't have to worry about all the problems of having money and counting it and all that kind of other stuff. But before you do call though, be in a comfortable place and smile and be really happy and smile while you're talking. Because if you're not smiling and you're not happy and you're just doing it because somebody said, hey, you know what, Ivan, you have to do 30 calls today, you're not going to have any success.
That's right.
That's the
Then you
bottom
become
line.
them.
Is if either you want to do this and you want to be successful, or you're going to make excuses for not doing it and you're going to guarantee so you're not successful. It's pretty simple.
And you'll figure it out on your own too when you're making calls. I've discovered that when I stand up and make calls, like when I hold, but I'm standing up and I'm kind of pacing back and forth, I do really well with calls. But if I'm seated, I the first couple of calls are good and then they start to get bad. So I just have to stand up and walk around.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah,
and it is about you. And it's just like when you're doing something for a client, it's supposed to be about the client. It's not about you. It's about the client.
Mm-hmm. Yes, John.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit against Michael here. And Jennifer, I really want to hear what you think about this, because I always tell people, if you're not feeling it, don't just do it. Don't just create content. Now I'm coming from a content creator perspective, not a sales perspective, so it's a bit different. But when you just do a post because you think, oh, I have to do a post today, I'm just going to throw something up just to get something, it sucks. It sucks. It hurts the algorithm. No one's going to engage with it. My suggestion, and again, content creation, if you're not feeling creative, don't push it. Take a step, go for a walk, go see a movie, listen to some music. If you don't get a post up today, worry about it tomorrow. But in terms of creating content, don't push it if you're not feeling it. Do you agree, Jennifer?
100%. 100%. Your mindset and where your head's at 1000% affects the results of what you're trying to do. So whether it's making calls or creating content or writing an article or signing a new client, if your head's not in the right space, you're not going to get the results you want. Before I get on a sales call, I love to just envision the sales call going right. Envision them saying yes and like playing it out in my head, how I'm going to celebrate and how excited I'm going to be. And that gets my head in the right space to go do the sales call. It's the same thing with creating content or coaching a client or having a call with Ivan. Like I get excited and get my head in the right space to get the results I need from that conversation. And I envision everything going my way before I do it. And it works.
Okay, let me ask you a question though, okay, on this thing. How about those people who, have you ever gone to an appointment where you're running late and your hair's all messed up and you're really super sweaty because you ran to the appointment, and you get in there and you totally feel completely out of sorts and you land the deal, right? That happens too, right?
Do you have that a lot when you get to an appointment, your hair's messed up?
It happens so much I just thought get rid of it.
Just get rid of it, right?
Now it's wash and wear, right? But
Yeah.
I have that all the time. Like, actually, not so much now because I haven't ridden in a couple of years, but it used to be I'd be on my bike. So of course that required a quick change. Riding in short, so it'd be like switching to shorts to a skirt. Yeah, it was like great fun.
You can arrive to an appointment frazzled, but still in the right headspace because you can click it with a breath. Right? You can make a choice with and you walk in. Your hair can be a mess. You can still be sweaty, but you've switched into the right headspace with a choice and a breath.
I'll also say, to add on to this, I think it depends if you like doing sales calls. Like
Right.
I'm not a big salesperson. So like I was on my way back to the hotel on Friday, and I had a client call me and say, hey, listen, I got a lead for you. They really want to work with you. Give them a call. I was so tired that I knew a sales call wasn't going to pump me up. It was going to be more of a chore. So I'll give them a call on Monday, and they were fine with that. But if Ivan, I feel you get pumped up for sales calls. Like
I gotta get pumped up.
That's in your DNA.
Gotta do
So
some.
if sales calls excite you, as opposed to frustrate you, then maybe it's a bit different. What mindset you go into it with. I don't know, Jack.
So I have tremendous fear about making calls. I have to tell you that right now. I have tremendous fear.
That surprises me.
Yeah, no, tremendous fear. So there's fear that I have, but it's also I know I have to do it. But here's the crazy thing though, is that it's like anything. Like if I don't fly in a while, then I'm terrified of flying. If I don't take a road trip in a while, then I'm terrified of road trips. If I don't make phone calls in a while, then I'm terrified of the phone. But once you start doing it, right? Like once you start flying, then you start thinking I could go anywhere. I'm gonna, in fact, I'm not gonna go back home for a while, right? When you start making calls, you never want to be off the phone. You have a love affair with that phone. You like calling people up. You like trying different tactics of making your calls. So yeah, that's me. Once I get started, I'm great. Go ahead, Carol.
I actually can't focus on the calls. I can't focus on my discovery calls. I can't focus on that stuff. They stress me out. I stumble, I stutter. It's terrible for me. I have to trick my brain into not thinking of it as a sales call, and I don't have sales calls anymore. I have assistance calls. So I actually think about how my job and what my company offers can help the client. So I'm not selling them something, I'm helping them or finding a way to solve their issues. So sometimes it's how you look at it opposed to what you're actually doing.
Yeah, neat. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Cassandra.
It's funny because I just came back from a young brokers leadership conference. And basically, the consensus around there is for you to be successful in sales, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that is totally true, especially with the cold calls. And honestly, I hate making like cold calls because nobody really wants to talk about insurance with me, right? But I have to find a way to talk to them about things that matter to them that insurance can help with, right? But yeah, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Wow. You know, it's and what like the only thing I can think of that is going to make you comfortable is doing it, right? Just like Michael says, like the more you do it, the better it is. But I will tell you this: if you want your business to be accelerated, and we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago, get on the phone, make 30 calls a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday and Friday is not a good day for calling, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, make your 30 calls a day. And at the end of the month, let's have a conversation because your business will be on fire. I'm telling you that right now. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so the mindset thing, yeah. So if you know you're calling, say you're calling every Monday at 2:00 in the afternoon. So now you've got another appointment at about 1:30 or 1:45. And that appointment is all about getting yourself mentally in the right frame of mind because you know what the next appointment is. It's going to be the actual calling. Take a nap, take a walk around the block, do whatever it is that you got to do to be happy. So at 2:00, it's time to call. You're happy.
Right.
You did whatever you needed to do. Like you cleared your head of, maybe you were working on something that was really frustrating. And that call's not, I don't look at it as a sales call. It is a sales call, but it's not. When I'm talking to people, I'm like, hey, listen, this is a chance for us to meet. This is a chance for us to get to know each other. Then I can find out a little bit, where I might be able to help you. And you get to know me a little bit so you can know if you want to work with me. That's what we're calling about. We're calling about getting to know each other. We're going to have an introduction. We're not going to talk on that call unless somebody dives into it. We're not going to talk about any products. We're not talking about that today. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about meeting.